Welcome back to another message crawler update. Today we're talking more about Teams. It seems like that's all we've been talking about lately, but there are more enhancements and I want to share them with you. So let's go to my screen and I'll show you what I got. Alright, so I have some data loaded here in the grid. Completely ignore that, that's irrelevant. It's just so I'd be able to open some of the tools here. I'm going to navigate to Teams and I'm going to click on MSG PST here. And I'm going to center my window. So a couple of enhancements here. Number one is SharePoint path contains %20. So what happened to me is somebody sent me a sample data and all the spaces were replaced with %20 and paths, and there was some weird stuff going on, like the files were stored in the folder that is named under the file. And I thought, like, dude, you got some kind of corruption going on. Somebody's been screwing around with this data. You know, go back and re-export that stuff. And so the person didn't bother me, and I guess they worked around it or something like that. And I never heard of this problem again until someone contacted me again and says, like a different person says, hey, I'm getting this. And I'm like, no, you just got to re-export it. And so they've re-exported multiple times and they were consistently getting this. And so apparently it's a thing. Sometimes path gets messed up by Microsoft for whatever reason. It contains these %20, and of course once you add extra characters you can no longer link your SharePoint path to the link inside. So this is what this option does. If you go to your SharePoint folder and you see paths have %20, that means you need to check this checkbox. Pretty simple. The other option I added is something called Preview PST Stats. And the problem that people were having is when they import PSTs, they don't really know what's inside PSTs. And if you open them, there's like a whole mess of stuff going on. And they kind of want to know, is this PST Teams PST or is it just regular emails? Don't really have anything to show you, but it'll just show up here in this box here, how many messages it has and how many messages that contain Skype thread ID. If they contain Skype thread ID, that means they're most likely Teams text messages. So this is what the tool does. You'll just paste your path here, click on this button, it will get a quick preview of the counts. If you like it, you hit import. If you don't, you change your path and you hit preview again. This is path to the folder, not to individual PST. All right, so these are the two changes that happen here on the screen. So SharePoint path contains %20 and preview PST stats. Hopefully this is going to be useful to people who are not sure what's in the PSTs here. Next, we got two more updates. And the next update is going to be in download hyperlinks. And you'll say, I know download hyperlinks, I've used it before. But now it's able to download hyperlinks from SharePoint. So if you did not get that SharePoint folder with your export, or if the collection of files in the SharePoint folder is incomplete, Message Crawler will put the URL link in the grid. And now what this tool will be able to do is follow that SharePoint hyperlink and download. Now this is a huge deal because authenticating to SharePoint is completely different from like just grabbing a file on a secure server, like a secure web server. So what you'll do is check this link to SharePoint server, you'll put your server name, and of course you'll need to have a valid username and password to connect to it. But if you do, it will follow so first it'll pop up with a login screen, and it's going to be like a web page that pops up. So it's again different authentication, and this should support all the dual factor and all that fancy stuff. You will log in, authenticate properly, and then it will go through all the hyperlinks, download the files, and update the path, the field that you select here for path, with the actual native path. So now that you'll be able to export RSMF files with all the attachments. I don't know if I mentioned this, but sometimes Microsoft doesn't export all the attachments. Like, it's not that Message Crawler couldn't link it, it's because the files are just missing. But if you trace the path, they do exist on SharePoint, so there is some crazy stuff going on. A point is you're able to get additional native files, attachments using this tool, provided you have valid username and password to a SharePoint server. But we're not done. There's one more thing to show you, and this is something called Teams PST Message Extractor. This is kind of, don't know what to call it. Someone asked me for this. I thought it was an interesting idea, so I quickly built it. What this allows you to do is you can point to a PST file and point to an export folder, and this will extract all the MSG files that contains Teams Skype thread ID. So any kind of Teams messages will be extracted and saved to a folder, and they'll be folded by conversation. So it's kind of cool way of, if you have a PST file with just tons of garbage and you just want to, extract it and put it in the folder, or if you have insanely huge PST, you can use this tool to break it up into smaller folders by conversation. And then once you do that, you can go back to this tool and use Teams PST MSG to load subset of that. Maybe you want to do it in a smaller batches. Maybe you don't need all of it. Maybe there's specific conversations you're looking for. So this tool will break up that PST for you. Not totally sure where I'm going with this tool. This will probably change in some form, but I kind of quickly put it in here for somebody just so that they could do the task they needed to do. All right, and that completes my update on Message Crawler as it relates to Teams data. I think I've been working on Teams data for too long. I need to switch to something else. So let me know what that something else might be. Thank you for checking out this update. Be sure to download a copy for yourself. Try it out. Let me know how it works for you. And I will see you on another Message Crawler update.